do the roll call first. Our second agenda item would be the meeting minutes, which we'll skip, and we'll go right to the financial report until Liz gets here. I know there's some challenges with the cold and other things going on, so that's fine. So, Robin, if we could get a roll call, please.
Alderman Bob Bauman. Senator LaTanya Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Jim Cantor.
Here.
Ms. Liz Sumner. Representative Jesse Rodriguez. Mr. Bill Christensen.
Here.
Here, we do not have a quorum present.
Okay, great. As noted, thank you. We do not have a quorum present. We will skip the meeting minutes, which is the only thing we do have from a voting perspective. And we'll move to the financial report again, for the sake of people's schedules and times.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Today's update will be our final review of the 2025 financial activity ahead of Baker Tilly's presentation of the audited financial statements at the May board meeting. So overall, today's results for 2025 remain positive and are not materially different from the update that was provided to the board in November. But before we get into the numbers, some quick updates. First, the 2026 financials continue to forecast in line with the 2026 budget the board adopted in November. And for reference, we've included the 2026 budgeted income statement and capital budget in today's packet, which are on pages 14 through 16. And we'll provide a more comprehensive update on 2026 financial activity at the May board meeting. The second is the 2025 audit. Baker Tilly is currently wrapping up their preliminary 2025 audit fieldwork, and no issues or concerns have been identified thus far. Our finance team will spend the next couple of months preparing for the final fieldwork, which is scheduled to take place in March. And Baker Tilly will present the final audit results to this committee at the May meeting. Third, the 2016 appropriation debt refunding. Pending board approval, we remain on track to complete the refunding of the 2016 appropriation debt, which we will review later in today's presentation. I also want to provide the committee an update on our recent call with Moody's. Marty, Justin Fisher from Baird, and I met with Moody's last week. While Moody's has updated their rating methodology, the district's financial profile remains consistent and in several areas stronger than what we presented during our last ratings review in 2024. We expect to hear back from Moody's in the coming weeks. We'll keep the committee and board informed once the rating is issued. So let's get into our 2025 review. I want to start by summarizing just how significant past fiscal year was from a financial standpoint. When we presented the 2025 budget in fall of 2024, there were two specific outcomes we set to achieve. First was growing our restricted fund balance. Annual growth in this fund has been a core part of the district's long-term financial strategy since 2020. And maintaining a strong restricted reserve is a critical safeguard, particularly in protecting the district from unexpected declines in tax revenues due to broader economic conditions. In 2024, as voted by the board, we used $14 million of restricted funds to defease debt. At that time, we're projecting to end 2025 with a restricted fund balance of $27.2 million. I'm happy to report that we exceeded that number and ended 2025 at $28 million, which is well above our targeted 75% of the following year's debt service. Second, we sought to achieve positive net income before depreciation, expansion on interest expense of $29 million. We'll walk through the details shortly, but we expect to finish 2025 right at our budget number. In addition to those budget numbers, it would be remiss not to highlight our operating success, especially considering this was our first full year of operating in the expanded Baird Center. We hosted several major events in 2025, and the impact on our operating P&L was meaningful. As we'll see shortly, operating revenues exceeded budget in nearly every line item. Beyond the financial results, the exposure and visibility these events generated for our venues for the city of Milwaukee cannot be overstated. Some of our marquee events in 2025 included the Baird Triannual Reunion, True 25, the Medicaid Systems Conference, and the National Guard event. The dividends the district and the city will realize from these events in terms of future bookings and long-term relationships is invaluable. Simply put, the accomplishments of 2025 have positioned the district a healthy and opportunity-filled future. That said, we can get into the numbers. So we'll start with the event mix summary, which is page 5 of your packet. Column C shows the number of events we actualized in 2025, and column B reflects what we had budgeted. As you can see, we came in 22 events under budget, 382 budgeted compared to 360 actualized. The largest variance being our corporate meetings category in line 5. Historically, that event type has relatively limited impact on the bottom line compared to others, so the overall financial impact is minimal. As you'll see in a moment, it did not prevent us from achieving our budgeted financial results. While we did not quite hit that budget number, we did exceed last year's total by 51 events. Based on our current bookings pace in 26, we do feel well positioned to potentially exceed our budget number. Moving to page 7, 2025 income statement. Pages 6 through 9 are the income statement, but we'll focus on page 7. You'll see column E through H at the top, which compare our annual budget to our annual forecast. To get right to the point, you can see on line 65, column F, we are essentially right on budget with a net income before depreciation, expansion interest expense debt of $29 million. Moving up to line 14, column H, operating income is up nearly 3%. Event revenues, which are shown on lines 1 through 5, 8 and 9, collectively came in about $540,000 above budget. I feel like that's a noteworthy comment considering that we've hosted fewer events than what we anticipated to budget. You'll see lines 10 advertising revenue and line 12 parking revenue exceeded budget. On the advertising side, that was driven by the addition of several new sponsors, including Cousin Subs, Stone Creek Coffee, and Flowers for Dreams. We're encouraged by the momentum we're seeing in this area and are optimistic these partnerships will continue to drive strong results in 2026. And for parking revenue, our operator Interstate Parking has done an excellent job driving business to the structure. Increased awareness of the structure combined with its proximity to the entertainment district has made it a more attractive option to event goers, which has positively impacted revenues. We will look to add to this success in 2026. Moving to line 27, column H, operating expenses came in about 1.75% over budget. Line 15, labor, and line 17, contract services. Those are the primary drivers. A portion of the overage in line 15, labor, is from the overtime throughout 2025 related to open positions in our facilities department. And the variance in contract services is largely due to temporary staffing used to cover third shift cleaning positions, roles where we've had difficulty hiring permanent staff through the hours. We have implemented additional monitoring and tracking in 2026 on both internal labor and contract services, and are confident we can see actual results closer to budget moving forward. On a positive note, line 18, utilities, shows a favorable variance. We inadvertently overaccrued utilities in a prior month. As you can imagine, these bills are not small, so the correction worked in our favor. And line 34, tax revenues, is currently trailing budget by $387,000. To clarify, these figures reflect actual collections through November, with December currently forecasted at budget. So there's potential upside here. And we'll know more once December tax results are finalized in February. Line 35 is interest income. It's also better than budget. This is largely due to a more favorable interest rate environment than what we anticipated. We budgeted conservatively in this category for 2025, expecting larger rate cuts than what ultimately occurred. As for non-operating expenses, no significant change from what we reviewed in November. As noted at our November meeting, lines 50 and 51, legal services and professional services, exceeded budget. Project initiatives the leadership team has been working on with Hush Blackwell. Overall, this leaves a net income of $29 million, which is right on target with our 2025 budget, as noted on line 65. Turning to the capital budget on page 10. This provides a snapshot of our 2025 capital expenditures. In total, we're currently tracking about $62,000 under budget. You'll notice a few projects that were not undertaken this year reflected by a $0 spend in the forecast column. At the same time, lines 36 through 41 capture several items that were unplanned but necessary to address in 2025. Overall, this year's capital spending has been focused on life safety, building functionality, code compliance, revenue generation, and meeting contractual obligations. At this point, the district does not have any concerns about the ability to meet future capital maintenance needs. Pages 11 through 13 of your packet are the cash flow projections. First, to the 2025 restricted cash. The news is positive. As discussed earlier, you can see the fund balance for this year increased by $6.4 million. Page 12 is the 2026 restricted cash flow projection. You can see we expect to grow the fund by almost $7 million. While we currently have no plans, we will continue to work closely with Baird in 2026 to evaluate our options for potential debt defeasance or investment into our long-term capital planning. And of course, all of this would be brought to the board for discussion. Lastly, page 13 shows the unrestricted cash projection, a slight increase to our beginning cash balances based off of where we ended 25, resulting in a slight increase to ending cash in 26, but no changes to the inflows and outflows from what was presented at the time of the budget. Again, we'll update the board in May on these assumptions. Both the restricted and unrestricted funds remain in a stable and healthy state, which is a position of strength for the organization. Any questions on 2025 before moving into the appropriation funding?
Any questions? Kyle? Yeah, Kyle. Can we just go back to agenda item 2 before we go to the appropriations now? As noted, hopefully Liz is attending. So Robin, do we have a quorum?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Back to agenda item 2, any discussion on the approval of the meeting minutes from the meeting, finance meeting, October 30th? Do you have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Meeting minutes are approved. Thank you. Now the agenda item 4 on appropriation bonds. Kyle.
Thank you. Pages 17 through 20 summarize the appropriation revenue bond refunding. So these materials are provided for your review today with a formal vote to approve the plan January 30th board meeting. I want to provide a quick overview of the refunding, what it is, and why we are recommending to move forward. Before doing so or getting into the exhibits, I want to thank Aaron Hines, Deputy Capital Finance Director for the state, reports to Secretary Blumenfeld, his guidance throughout this process, and his support on the refunding strategy. We have also worked closely with Baird, Quarles and Brady, and Morgan Stanley throughout this process. They are trusted advisors to the district, and we thank them for their knowledge and expertise. Simply put, a refunding transaction involves issuing new bonds to pay off existing bonds. Primary reason we are looking forward with refunding is to take advantage of lower interest rate environment. Under the proposed structure, we would refund the interest rate on the bond series from 4.34% to 2.72%, which would generate an estimated $3.2 million in savings. As shown in the exhibit, there is no change to the remaining term of the bonds. And per the 2016 appropriation bond indenture, these savings are designated for reimbursement of prior expenditures related to the Pfizer Forum. Overall, this is a fairly straightforward transaction compared to some of the more complex financing this committee has reviewed and approved in the past. While the savings themselves are not restricted, any excess beyond reimbursing annual expenses associated with owning the Pfizer Forum would earmarked for future capital projects. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kyle. Are there any questions for Kyle on? Yeah, Liz.
So these bonds were originally for the FISERV,
Yes.
Okay.
These,
so you're just refunding for saving.
yes, the
Okay.
interest rate environment is much better.
Okay.
And for clarification, Carl, the question to you, you just stated that any excess beyond reimbursing us for expenses more for capital. That's part capital for our building, not FISERV, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that would be for our buildings. That Pfizer is our building, but our immediate campus.
I just want to make sure it was clear.
For this campus now.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, one
Yep,
other question.
please.
So I see the intent is to capture the debt service savings up front in 2026. I was wondering if you could speak to the reasoning for that. I know if you look at like Government Finance Officers Association best practice, they would say in a refunding, it's typically advantageous to spread those savings out throughout the remaining term. So I guess what's the kind of thinking behind uploading those?
Yes, thanks for the question, Bill. I'm gonna Dale from Baird, who's here, opine on kind of our reasoning for why we front loaded rather than we did have the option to spread it out or do it on the back as well.
Sure. There is the option of having it level savings versus having it upfront. The benefit of having the savings front loaded is that the yield curve is short, and by having the savings upfront versus level on a present value basis is still very similar. But the advantageous aspect of it is the money is immediately available, at the end of 2026, all of it, versus alternatively, if you spread the savings out, then, a little bit of that savings would be available over, the remaining 8-year period. So it's really a matter of preference on when the savings would like to be utilized.
I guess if it's possible to kind of compare the front-loaded debt service savings versus the level savings on a net present value basis, just to kind of see apples to apples.
Sure, we'll be happy to get that for you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you. That helped answer your question, Bill.
Yeah, and I think maybe we can talk at some point more about the reason why the debt service savings are important in 2026. We don't need to get into that now unless you're.
You could get that. Day tomorrow would be great because I'd like to be able to send it on the board packet that goes out.
Absolutely.
So everybody.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Kyle? All right. We'll keep things moving. We will move over to Marty and the CEO report.
Our report today is relatively brief, so no complaints on it.
No one, you're
I
not
thought I was going to hear a sigh and go, really? Come on.
trying to be
Marty."
better this year.
Thank you. Thank you. A couple announcements to start off with. All of you should have received your note earlier this month that in addition to Kyle's promotion that he received back in the fall, given his level of performance the past several months, as well as in the years leading up to his promotion in November, I've added the title of Chief Financial Officer to the organization. When I talked to Kyle in the fall, I indicated that my hope was that I wouldn't have to do a recruitment for a CFO, that we had that person on board, but I needed him to get comfortable in the role. In 3 months, he not only got comfortable, but he really has excelled and taken a very aggressive leadership role with the leadership team. And I appreciate that and happy to share with you that we are not going to be seeking another CFO because we have ours. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Other matter, just, I'm not sure if we sent out a notice that included the board, but mid-December, Megan Setman, our Vice President of Sales and Chief Commercial Officer, and her husband, Omar, lovely Penelope. So we have another member of the WCD family. Relations to her. Look forward to her coming back in the office in March. As part of the board packet that you're going to receive on Monday, there are a number of items that are going to be included in the appendix We normally don't do that, but there are three documents we wanted to get to the board, not as agenda items for the board meeting, but in response to questions we've been asked in prior meetings. So those three attachments, one is the 2025 employee turnover report. This is something that Grady has asked for in the past and we provided. And what that shows is full and part-time employee turnover in 2025 and how that compares across the city and state, just so you can see how we are. I think you'll be pleased by the results of that report. Greg Marcus had brought up in November his interest in seeing how, from a hotel activity standpoint, we were pacing versus projections for events that are citywides and big hotel generators. So Visit Milwaukee's put together a very comprehensive report that is submitted into this document and hopefully answer his and other people's questions about hotel occupancy and bookings for the future. And then lastly, along the same lines, but a different comparison is, and it may have been Greg who brought it up, how are we, the organization, performing now? First year of full operation was last year. We're now in a stabilized period of time. How are we, and how have we performed versus those projections that were generated by HVS when we were looking at could we afford the expansion? So that document is in here. I was not surprised, but comforted by the results that Kyle was able to pull together, and that report will be in there. It shows that the base case that HVS represented, they represented base, worst, and best. We went with the base case in all examples of our analysis, and we are dramatically overperforming what HVS had assumed we would. That's just very comforting and reassuring that not only did we do the right thing, but we've actually.
So that'll include where we currently are and as well as our projections moving.
For 26, we did not go beyond 26.
Okay. We didn't look at, well, we have events booked 2030, right? Does it have any comparisons to how we're looking and projecting? So that's good in state and time for 26, but I think the ultimate curiosity is how do we continue to trend? Is it something that we're on track for? I think, and how do we track against that moving forward? I think was the broader scope too. It's not just a one point in time, but how do we maybe make it a living thing where we do this once a year or something?
Sure. Yeah, I'd have to look to see how far they went with their event projections. I don't recall offhand, but we can certainly
just take a look at that and see. And then the other question I think that did come up, if I remember correctly, was how are we doing in breaking out the P&Ls for High Life Theater, for Panther Arena, and then for Baird Center? I think that's something we've kind of done in the past, something we wanted to look at as a group too.
We've not, my recollection, done on any regular basis a financial analysis of the individual events. Kyle and I do have one for 20, is it 25? 25.
Yeah.
So we have that. Do you want us to share that in advance? We're happy to do that.
Yeah, if you could put that out on the appendix, I think.
Sure.
People have asked, there's curiosity around how each of those entities are doing individually.
You have that document prepared.
Thank you.
And we'll get that to the appendix. So that's, I've added a document. Good thing is, I've already done the work.
Yeah, well done.
It's a matter of getting it to Robin to include in the packet. That was good.
Setup.
That was good. The majority of my CEO report, balance of my CEO report, will be tied to a recap of 2025, and then looking by department at our outlook for 2026. Major activities we have going on, challenges we have, good challenges, not concern challenges, in corporate partnerships, operations, sales, Marcom, and human resources, just to kind of set the table for what we're looking for 2026 to be. And that will be it for the CEO report, because we do then have, as part of the full board this week, Hunden Partners will be giving a presentation as ambitious study. So that's the overview of my report.
Any questions from Marty on that, or anything we want to see as well for the board meeting next week, Friday? Get it. Okay. Great. If not, we are going to be on the home stretch here. Agenda for next board meeting, I believe is in our packets, last page. So there's a number of things to go over as Marty already will have financials, corporation bonds with the take action against that. Like that'll be a vote. Or you'll give a more robust, dare I say, more robust CEO report for all of us.
Hey, good
Right.
word.
Then obviously the London study, which will be good topic of discussion, and we're anxious to hear and see those understandings. And then, kind of the board meeting and discussion. So anything else anybody wants to see added to that, please let us know now or before the end of the day, so we can get that added because we do have to publish that. Future meeting dates are in your packet. Robin, we have sent those out for
Yeah.
holds on people's calendars. Great. I believe they're on mine, but I don't. I'm day to day at the time. So. I do believe those are all in there for both finance committees for the full board. So we'll have, again, 5 of each next year. I think that's a good cadence that we've been on for a while. If there's any other future discussion items, let us know now or send us an email before the end of the day. We'll make sure we put that on there. Any other questions from anybody? All right. Well, thank you for your time. I will seek a motion to adjourn.
I'll make one. We're eager.
One of you.
I'll make it.
And I
Let's get the
second
heck-
it. How about
Everyone
that?
wants to get out of here. I get it. I get it. Do we have everyone in favor say aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Great. Thank you, and stay warm and safe this weekend, everybody.
Thank you, Senator Johnson, for
Thank
attending.
you. Thanks for jumping on. So thanks for being here and weathering the storm. It's gonna get worse, so everyone is hearing about Greg's hip replacement. That's a HIPAA violation, but you just, you just. HIPAA. You see what I did there?
Yeah.
Good.
Drags you out.
Hey, might not be that smart, but, anyway, let's get rolling, and do roll call.
Mr. Grady Crosby,
Here.
Mr. Mark Flaherty.
Here.
Representative Kalen Haywood. Mr. Jim Cantor,
Here.
Mr. Greg Marcus.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First order of business is any discussion around the meeting minutes, and any approval and the approval of the meeting minutes, both from our governance committee meeting on 10:30 and the special governance committee we had on November 21st. Would I seek a motion for approval?
Oh.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Right, meeting minutes are approved. With that, we will turn it over to Kyle for our financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, everyone. Today's update will be our final review of the 2025 financial activity ahead of Baker Tilly's presentation of the audited financial statements at the May board meeting. Overall, today's results for 2025 remain positive and are not materially different than what was provided or updated to the board in November. Before we get into the numbers, a few quick updates. First, the 2026 financials. We continue to forecast in line with the 2026 budget the board adopted in November. And for reference, we've included the 2026 budgeted income statement and capital budget in today's packet on pages 15 through 17. And we will provide a more comprehensive update on 2026 financial activity at the May board meeting. Second is the 2025 audit. Baker Tilly is currently wrapping up their preliminary 2025 audit fieldwork, and no issues or concerns have been identified thus far. Finance team will spend the next couple months preparing for the final fieldwork, which is scheduled to take place in March. And lastly, I want to briefly update the committee on our recent call with Moody's. Marty, Justin Fisher from Baird, and myself met with Moody's last week. While Moody's has updated their rating methodology, district's financial profile remains consistent and in several areas stronger than what we presented during our last ratings call, which is in 2024. So we expect to hear back from Moody's in the coming weeks, and we will keep the committee and board informed once a rating is issued. Let's get into the 2025 review.
Sorry, Kyle, before I, Kalen has joined, noted, Robin?
Yes. Have that noted.
Thank you.
We'll get into the 2025 review, and I want to start by summarizing just how significant 2025 was, or this past fiscal year was, from a financial standpoint. When we presented the 2025 budget in the fall of 24, there were two specific outcomes we set to achieve. The first was growing our restricted fund balance. Annual growth in this fund has been a core part of the district's long-term financial strategy since 2020. Maintaining a strong restricted reserve is a critical safeguard, particularly in protecting the district from unexpected declines in restricted tax revenues due to broader economic conditions. In 2024, as voted on by the board, we issued $14 million of we used $14 million restricted funds to defease debt. And at that time, we were projecting to end 2025 with a restricted fund balance of $27.2 million. Happy to report we exceeded that number and ended 2025 at $28 million, which is well above our target of 75% for the following year's debt service. Second, we sought to achieve positive net income before depreciation and expansion bond interest expense of $29 million. Walk through the numbers shortly, but we expect to finish 2025 right at our budget number. In addition to those budget objectives, it would be remiss not to highlight our operating success, especially considering this was our first full operating year with the expanded Baird Center. We hosted several large events in 2025, and the impact to the operating P&L was meaningful. As you'll see shortly, operating revenues exceeded budget in nearly every line item. Beyond the financial results, the exposure and visibility these events generated for our venues and the city of Milwaukee cannot be overstated. Some of our marquee events in 2025 include the Baird Triannual Reunion, Crew 25, the Medicaid Systems Conference, and the National Guard event. Dividends the district and the city will realize from these events in terms of future bookings and long-term relationships valuable. And simply put, the accomplishments of 2025 have positioned the district for a healthy and opportunity-filled future. With that said, we can get into the numbers. We'll start with the event mix summary, which is page 6 of your packet. Column C shows the number of events we actualized in 2025. Column B reflects what we had budgeted. As you can see, we came in 22 events under budget, 382 budgeted compared to 360 actualized. The largest variance being at corporate meetings, which is line category on line 5. Historically, that event type has a relatively limited impact on the bottom line compared to others, so the overall financial impact was minimal. And as we'll see in a moment, it did not prevent us from achieving our budgeted financial results. And again, while we did not hit that budget event number, we exceeded last year's total by 51 events. Based on our current booking pace, we feel well positioned to achieve and potentially exceed the number we budgeted for 2026. Moving on to the income statement, which is page 7 through 10 of your packet. We will start with page 8. You will see columns E through H at the top, which compare our annual budget to our annual forecast. And to get right to the point, you can see on line 65, column F, we are essentially right on budget with our net income before depreciation and bond interest expense on the expansion of $29 million. Moving back up to line 14, column H, our total operating income is up nearly 3%.
Go back one thing on the Miller High Theater for a minute. Is I don't have any sense of, but is the building going to be competitive to Miller High?
So is the
What is it?
The new financial
building.
building. Yep.
biggest difference in the two buildings is that there's no fixed seating.
All GA.
It's all GA, it's a flat floor, so there is a mezzanine that has fixed seats in it. The floor itself is no fixed seating, although that they could bring portable chairs if they chose to. It's mostly shows. The biggest impact, I think, is going to be, it's a Live Nation venue where Live Nation's going to, if it's available, put their shows. Yes, they either played Madison and not played Milwaukee. Now they have a place to play that they own and operate. So it will be competition because a show that can play theater with seats can also play flat floor. It's not will the audience go.
Which Live Nation stuff do we get now here?
Right now, very low.
So it's just going to be competition for the dollar of the show.
And there will be some for the show.
But there are some, I do believe there are some acts that have played traditionally Pabst Theater Group that are now playing at Landmark Live instead that I've seen from what the bills look like. Not a lot, but there's some, crossover there. And I do believe the way Live Nation works, they can control radius, right? So they have the control of where they go and they can only go to Live Nation. There will be some impact, I would certainly say, but we obviously feel very strongly that Gary and his team are very good promoters and they do a great job of getting.
How does he feel about it, Gary?
Gary was outspoken. Market
At the beginning.
Especially with being placed on property that the Bucks paid $1. Gary has gotten Live Nation shows that have played in his buildings and played ours. That's because Live Nation didn't have an event in the market. Now it's going to be more difficult for Gary to do a Live Nation show. I don't know how well comedy will play without seats. And Live Nation has a very strong comedy touring group.
Does the artist have the choice?
I don't think so.
The artist has some say, but it's a manager who owns the tour.
It's too bad that one of our board members pushed so hard for it to take away money from the district.
Yeah, I mean, they own the Sylvie too in Madison. If you've been there, it's really pretty much the same layout as this open seating, and they do okay. They do well. I think it's just it's a competitive marketplace for our independent buildings and promoters around here. We'll continue to be competitive, and then it will, I think, do a little bit of damage to getting taxed. But I think, you know, with everything, you pivot and you find out where those opportunities are, and we're confident that ETG Group is good at doing that.
Scrap.
When did they open?
February. Next month.
Oh, so they have.
They've got shows on sale. Probably have a dozen shows on sale right now.
Where they park, they utilize the Bucks parking structure.
That's interesting to see, especially when the Moxie opens, where you're going to park, because there is no incremental parking being placed in that area to accommodate the new hotel as well as the theater. So if you've got a Bucks game, an Admirals game, something in Miller High Life Theater, it's going to be a choke point down here.
You have parking assets in the area.
Our garage.
Worry about that spot I talked about earlier.
Oh, that's
No, there could be some ancillary benefit to it.
a few bucks, so.
Right. There could be some benefit in the parking side for us.
Any shakeup over there? And not the Peter leaving, but I heard other things.
Love to hear them either online or offline. But the only one I spoke to Peter shortly after he was leaving. Place.
Oh, yeah, I think it's the new guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm meeting with him 2 weeks. Just got to take him around the building and just get to know each other.
All right. That was a deviation from a financial report, but a good one. So thank you.
Back to page 8 here, we'll look at the event revenues. They're shown on lines 1 through 5 and 8 and 9, which collectively came in about $540 above budget. That result is noteworthy considering we hosted fewer events than we anticipated. And you'll see lines 10 advertising revenue, line 12 parking revenue exceeded the budget expectations. The advertising side, that was driven by the addition of several new sponsors, including Cousin Subs, Stone Creek Coffee, and Flowers for Dreams. We're encouraged by the momentum we're seeing in this area and are optimistic these partnerships will continue to drive strong results in 2026. Parking revenue, our operator Interstate Parking has done an excellent job driving business to the structure. Increased awareness of the structure combined with its proximity to the entertainment district has made it a more attractive option for event goers, which has positively impacted our revenues. We will look forward to adding to the success in 2026. Moving down to line 27, column H, operating expenses came in about 1.75% of budget. Line 15, labor, and line 17, contract services are the primary drivers. Portion of the overage in line 15, labor, is from overtime throughout 2025 related to open positions in our facilities department. The variance in contract services is largely due to temporary staffing used to cover cleaning positions, roles where we've had difficulty hiring permanent staff due to the hours. We've implemented additional monitoring and tracking in 2026 on both internal labor and contract services and are confident we can see the actuals closer to budget moving forward. On a positive note, line 18, utilities, shows a favorable variance. We inadvertently over-accrued utilities in a prior month. As you can imagine, these bills are not small, so the correction worked in our favor. Line 34, tax revenues, is currently trailing by $387,000. To clarify, these figures reflect actual tax collections through November, with December currently forecasted at budget. There's potential upside here, and we'll know more once December tax results are finalized next month. And line 35, interest income, is also better than budget. This is largely due to a more favorable interest rate environment than we anticipated. Budgeted conservatively in this category for 2025, expecting larger rate cuts than what ultimately occurred. As for non-operating expenses, no significant change from what we reviewed in November. As noted at our November meeting, lines 50 and 51, legal services and professional services, exceed budget due to project initiatives the leadership team has been working on with Hush Blackwell. Overall, this leaves a net income of $29 million, which is right on target with our 2025 budget, as noted on line 65. We'll turn the page to page 11, which is our capital budget. This provides a snapshot of our 2025 capital expenditures. Total, we are currently tracking about $62,000 under budget. You'll notice a few projects that were not undertaken this fiscal year reflected by a $0 spend in the forecast column. At the same time, lines 36 through 41 capture several items that were unplanned but necessary to address in 2026 or 2025. And overall, this year's capital spending has been focused on life safety, building functionality, code compliance, revenue generation, and meeting contractual obligations. And at this point, the district does not have any concerns about the ability to meet future capital maintenance needs. Pages 12 through 14 are the cash flow projections. First to the 2025 restricted cash. Positive news here. As we discussed earlier, you can see that the fund balance for this year increased $6.4 million. If we turn the page to page 13, our 2026 restricted cash flow projection, you can see we expect to grow the fund by $7 million, by almost $7 million. And while we are currently have no plans, we will continue to work closely with Baird in 2026 to evaluate our options for potential debt defeasance or investment into our long-term capital planning. And of course, all of this will be brought to the board for discussion and approval. Lastly, page 14 shows the unrestricted cash projection, a slight increase to our beginning cash based off of where we ended 2025, resulting in a slight increase to our ending cash in 2026, but no changes to the inflows or outflows from what was presented at the time of budget. Again, we'll update the board in May on these assumptions. Both the restricted and unrestricted funds remain in a stable and healthy state, which is a position of strength for the organization. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Kyle. Are there any questions for Kyle on the finance report? Right. If not, we will go to the next item. Is just a brief on the board meeting agenda. The full board meeting is next Friday, so hopefully everyone will be able to make it. I know Robin has sent out all the board meetings for the year. There are a couple action items, specifically the appropriation of the bonds funding. So that would be one that we need a full board to vote on. With that said, I think I skipped Marty's CEO report.
You did. I'll be brief. All right. I'll take that as a hint. Be brief. Couple things. In next week's board packet, which you should receive on Monday, a number of documents are going to be in there that are not currently on the agenda for discussion next week, but are in response to questions, a number of which Mr. Marcus has raised in prior board meetings. So those documents will be provided to everyone, hopefully to provide you with the information you were seeking. Those documents are, this one, I believe, comes annually from Grades, the 2025 employee turnover report. A pretty comprehensive report that shows how many full-time, part-time employees we started with, what positions were opened, how many we've replaced, and compares us to both city and state levels, so you can see where we fit in. And we are a much healthier organization from a turnover standpoint than the other entities mentioned. We have one of the questions that, number of questions that Greg raised that we've taken two different paths to respond to. One of them was the hotel projections that were contemplated when we were considering expansion, and then how are we pacing, not just today, but also future. I tasked Visit Milwaukee to respond to that because they're the ones that track the pace report regularly. So there's that document is in there. Hopefully that answers any questions or sparks additional ones from you.
This is
Simultaneously,
a regular pace report, right?
correct.
So we should see that with some regularity. I don't need to see every quarter, every month, but we should make sure we all just see it.
Happy to do that. It's not something that we provided, and not an issue at all. And so happy to do that.
Because I don't know. How's it going? How does it look?
Yeah. So that's in there.
I mean, I don't necessarily believe Visit Milwaukee numbers. I think they had those things.
You're right. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna disagree. I'm not gonna have a big disagreement with how the collection, but at least we can, it's a starting point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Give us
let's
something
get a
to-
starting point, I think is the
Yeah.
point, and then how do we track against it, I think is the question.
I always wonder why she puts star reports. Understand. Show that it's very mediocre. It's not.
Yeah, I think looking at the bigger picture, right, and how we're doing, how we're tracking, I guess directionally more than anything, because we all get asked the question, right, how's it going over there? It's going great.
I get it by, I have investors who are analysts. I mean,
Even
they're saying,
better.
"Yeah, you just drop 40+ million into a hotel next to it. How's it going?"
Yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't think it's going badly. I mean,
I don't know. I mean, I think it's going okay, but I just don't.
I don't think because our guys tell me, it an impact.
Yeah.
It's compression, it's a lot of, not as much as they want, but
Are you ever going to be satisfied with sales? You shouldn't be.
we never are. But I think it's important to see where the study said we were going to be, where we're tracking against on that study too. I think those are data.
And that brings me to the third document that's attached is, Greg, I think you also brought up, how are we doing based upon what we were using by HVS's study to get the expansion accomplished. And Kyle has put together a very comprehensive document that shows HVS's base case, which is they provided us worst base and best case. We represented the base case throughout the project being conservative. Kyle's done the assessment of how we've done and how we're projected to do. And we'll update that annually, get more numbers in. But so you're going to see projections versus actuals in that document. And then lastly, something that Jim reminded me of, it wasn't initially going to be in the packet Monday. It will be because we've already done the work product. It's looking at 2025, breaking that out by venue, so you can look at the net income of each of those buildings independently. So you'll see that as well. Rest of my CEO report will basically be a recap of 25, some major accomplishments, milestones that we achieved, and then an outlook for each department, how we're expected to do in 26 and where we see real opportunities for our organization to grow. Two things, just go housekeeping. You should have received a document last month that I decided not to do an external recruitment for a CFO. I was able to snag somebody internally. So Kyle has now added CFO to his title. I'm really happy for him and for us. And Megan Setman, our VP of Sales and Chief Commercial Officer, she and her husband Omar gave birth to baby Penelope back in December. So we now have an addition to the WCD family. Looking forward to Megan coming back in March after she's off maternity leave. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the overview of the CEO report. I will be more robust, to use the word you used the prior meeting, next week.
God, heaven help us. Any questions for Marty on CEO report, other things we want to see, and make sure we get the right information for the board meeting? Okay, good. I already did the agenda review. So anything, again, that you guys, this group wants to see prior to the board meeting, please either state it now or get it to us before the end of the day so we can include it in the agenda. As you know, we have to publish those agendas in advance. So if there's anything there, please let us know ASAP. If there are no further questions, I will go to agenda item 6 for personnel and specific public business discussion. The committee may convene in closed session pursuant to 1 Wisconsin statute S 19.851C. Consider the employment, compensation, or performance evaluation of certain WCD employees over which the committee has jurisdiction or exercise responsibility. And 2 Wisconsin State Statute S 19.851E to consider the investment of public funds or to conduct specific public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. I have a motion to go to closed session. We have a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we will take a moment to clear the room and then we'll move to closed session.